Each box contained a bottle. I wanted to review each bottle individually, but then I got to thinking, why not let these two bottles battle? Tonight, we're killing two birds with one stone, and these two ryes are gonna get involved in a little bit of a bourbon skirmish. Welcome back to ADHD Whiskey. My name is Matt. Tonight we have Pursuit United Triple Mash Rye going head to head, mano-y-mano, face to face, squaring off against Sagamore Spirits 10-year rye whiskey. In Glass A, we'll go Sagamore Spirit 10-year rye whiskey reserve series. America. They also sent me these rye things. They're like little itty bitty. They sent me rye on top of the rye. In Glass B, we'll go Pursuit United Triple Mash Rye. America. Let's get down to the tail of the tape. First of all, Pursuit United. This triple mash rye is in a brand new bottling. This is what we like to call a glow up. This is like that one time when I lost 100 pounds and was super sexy for a minute before I gained it back. If I were to offer any advice to Ryan and Kenny, Pursuit United, Pursuit Spirits, if I were to offer any advice to them, I'd say don't gain the weight back. Or, in other words, keep this bottle because this bottle is so sexy. Oh my gosh, if I met this bottle in a bar, I'd be like, what's up? How you doing? Your bulgy letters are nice. Our story began with a microphone that created the #1 whiskey podcast. Yeah, we already talked about that and how I've never been invited to be on it. Totally fine. No hard feelings, son of a bitch. We learned everything through thousands of hours of candid conversations with industry experts, not including Matt. This opportunity led us to partner with world-class distilleries and create award-winning whiskeys to share with you. Enjoy this pursuit. Love it. Blended and bottled by Pursuit Spirits, Louisville, Kentucky. There's a government warning on it and a UPC code. So you know that whatever they are charging for a bottle, the government is taking a gigantic percentage of it. Batch code 10CF, which stands for cool fuckers. This is uncut and unfiltered, barrel proof, 60.9% alcohol by volume, nice, 121.8 proof, non-chill filtered with 3 mash bills. This rye expression was meticulously crafted to stand alongside the best in its class, becoming a certified showstopper. A blend of 3 rye whiskeys bottled uncut and unfiltered straight from the barrel develops cascading layers of flavor. I will be the judge of that. What makes up the triple mash bill rye, you might ask? Great question. There's a 95% rye, 5% malted barley mash bill from not MGP, but instead Bardstown Bourbon Company. There's also a 95% rye, 5% malted barley mash bill included in this blend that is also super not from MGP. Instead, it's from Sagamore Spirit. And then there's a 52% rye, 43% corn, 5% malted barley rye whiskey that is also coming from Sagamore Spirit. So 2 Sagamore Spirit rye mash bills, 1 Bardstown Bourbon Company rye mash bill, and this is what we get. An ultra sleek, ultra sexy, ultra hot, ultra chesty Pursuit United bottle of triple mash rye. And its opponent weighing in at 110.8 proof, Maryland distilled straight rye whiskey aged for 10 years in new charred oak barrels. This is Sagamore 10-year rye, and its bottle is a bit more jagged and geometric. Careful maturation and thoughtful blending are on display in this 10-year-old straight rye whiskey. After aging our rye in new charred American white oak barrels for at least 10 years, we created this blend that boasts aromas of peach crumble, toasted nuts, and molasses cookie. Balancing sweet with spice, this rye whiskey has full flavors of creme brulee, floral honey, and lingering white pepper. Our Sagamore Spirit Reserve series celebrates the legacy of Maryland, distilling with an unyielding focus on excellence from start to finish. SagamoreSpirit.com, sample not for resale. I will be the judge of that. Can Pursuit United use Sagamore's whiskey against them to claim victory in this bourbon skirmish? Great question. We're about to find out after we give these things a spin on the Julie-like wheel of confusion. Now that I have no idea which rye is which, it's time to go in for the nose and taste this son of a bitch and the other son of a bitch while we're at it. Let's first start with the noses. Glass 1, glass 2. Glass 1. Warm cookies. Molasses cookies. That smells like Christmas in my house when I was growing up. It smells like the brief time period in my home as a child, right after my mom finished baking molasses cookies, and right before I ate all of the molasses cookies. This smells like friggin' molasses cookies at Christmas time. A little bit of that white icing that you could put on a gingerbread man, a belt to put on the gingerbread man to hold up his make-believe pants. A bit of carrot cake on glass 1. Carrot cake and spice and molasses and icing. A nose on a rye that is ever so enticing. It smells warm, it smells thick, it smells inviting. It smells like something that you want to taste on a frigid day to bring your body temperature up to drunk. I'd love to introduce this alcohol to my bloodstream, if you know what I mean. Oh, it smells good. Little bit of a vanilla wafer and a slight orange citrus like underlayment. You know when you walk into Subway and Subway has a smell and you're like, wow, it smells like onions and body odor. And then you kind of feel bad for the worker and you're like, when they go home or like go out after work, does everyone think that they just stink like they've never showered? This kind of smells like that. If Subway weren't Subway and smelled like onions and body odor, but instead it smelled like delicious, sweet citrus orange, and they were making orange sandwiches out of delicious citrus oranges. And then after they got home from work and then went out for the evening, instead of people thinking that they smelled like onions and body odor because they worked at Subway, they thought that they smelled like cream and citrus orange because they worked at the cream citrus orange store. And it was way better than the people who smelled like shit for working at Subway. Oh, friggin' Italian BMT Timmy. Stinky son of a bitch. Glass 2. Oh, glass 2 on the nose smells way different. Where glass 1 was warm and Christmassy, glass 2 is a little bit different. Glass 2 kind of smells almondy. Bit of a marzipan jam for glass number 2. And all God's children singing glory, glory, hallelujah, Fred Minnick, Fred Minnick, Fred Minnick, Fred Minnick. There's like an almond amaretto note coming out of glass 2 with a little bit of cream soda. Glass 2 is sweeter than glass number 1. If glass number 1 was a molasses cookie, glass number 2 is the sugar cookie dough. Nosing these side by side, I would say that glass number 1 is more full-bodied and warm, and glass number 2 is sweeter, sneakier, and in a rye disguise. Glass number 2 is kind of hiding the fact that it's a rye whiskey, at least when I compare it to glass number 1. Glass number 1 is out there showing the public its stuff. Glass number 2 is hiding behind a bit of a curtain. Glass number 2 is sweetening you up a bit. Glass number 2 wants you to like it before it reveals its truth. because it's afraid that if it tells you it's a rye whiskey, you're gonna stick up your nose and be like, ew, why would I ever associate myself with such trash? Get a job, you piece of shit. We live in a cruel world. We live in a cruel world. In the first round, the nosing round, these two whiskeys circled each other quite a bit. They were measuring the range a little bit, throwing out tiny itty bitty jabs, maybe an outside leg kick or two. But it looks like they're getting off the stool for round two. And in round two, they're going down the hatch. Glass number one down the hatch. Glass number one is a spice bomb. It is also a licorice bomb. There is some anise coming out of there pretty heavily, pretty hard. A little bit of black licorice. And by a little bit, I mean that was the first thing I tasted. Black licorice, black pepper. If glass number one were in a bag of Jelly Bellies and you randomly reached into that bag and you pulled out a Jelly Belly and popped it in your mouth, 99% of us would spit it out on the floor and go, poison bean! It's a poison bean! I'm pretty sure Jelly Bellies put the black licorice jelly bean in the bag of Jelly Bellies just to keep you honest so that you don't eat them too fast. I didn't get any black licorice on the nose of glass number one, but evaluating the palate, glass number one is trying to ruin my fun. I would never ever go into a situation and say because of one single thing that thing is bad. But I can definitely see myself going into a situation where I witness one single thing, one aspect, evaluate one tendency, or observe one value that you may or may not find reprehensible, if that's the right word, that you absolutely despise. It's like going on a blind date and you sit across from your blind date at a restaurant and then the blind date tells you that they're totally not into fat people, let alone obese people. I get it. I should have known they weren't into that. But then again, the majority of this country are just filled with people like me, fat, obese people. It's just a situation where you don't know who to blame. What I'm gonna do is just completely forget that my first taste of glass number one was full of a flavor profile that I don't like. And then I'm just gonna retaste glass two as if it were my first taste. I'm gonna reevaluate it as if I were evaluating it for the first time. I'm not gonna look for the black licorice note. I'm gonna pretend like I never even knew it existed. I'm reapproaching the door of glass number one and knocking on it, pretending like everything is cool between us, and that in no point ever, especially within the last 5 minutes, have we had severe issues with each other and decided to go our separate ways. This is my very first tasting of glass number one. Down the hatch. I do appreciate its viscosity. I do appreciate its kick. I do appreciate its spice. The first things I look for when I taste a whiskey, it's always the tasting experience. I'm looking at the experience first. How's the mouth feel? Is it viscous? Is it thick and oily? How does it transition on the palate from front to back? What's the finish like? Does the finish keep going and going, or is it extra short, leaving you wanting more? The drinking experience on glass number one is tremendous. It coats the palate nicely. It's oily and thick and fills all the crevices. It's a little curvy and changes directions a bit. And the finish is long lasting and lingering. However, the next thing I ask myself is this: is there anything in this whiskey that turns me off? And unfortunately, for glass number one, this isn't a glass number one problem, it's a Matt problem. But it's also a glass number one problem because Matt's the referee. And glass number one tastes to me like a box of Good and Plenty's. The first sip, which I promised you I'd forget about, tasted very black licorice-y. After completely forgetting about the first taste and going in for a second taste, I completely remembered the black licorice because the second sip was Good and Plenty all day. And if you like a good black licorice note, if you enjoy a Good and Plenty, if that note doesn't bother you, then glass number 1 is going to be a home run, because the entire tasting process, the mouthfeel, the experience of drinking glass number 1 is phenomenal. Unfortunately, the notes that I taste on glass number 1 make me want to scream from the top of my house on the roof. And I don't even think that the roof could hold me. Damn it! Damn it, son of a bitch! Son of a bitch! And when the neighbors came out to inquire what I was yelling profanities about, I would say, "Do you like Good and Plenty's, bitch?" And they would be like, "What?" And I'd be like, "Black licorice." And they'd be like, "No, not really." They'd like, "Go back inside and mind your business, Brenda." Damn it. Oh, glass number 1 smelled phenomenal to me, but on the palate, it just had things that made me go, damn it. Glass number 2, down the hatch. Glass number 2 maintains that lighter, sweeter profile that I was getting on the nose onto the palate. It's a little effervescent. There's a strong ginger ale note on here. It has a bit of a zip and a bit of a zing to it. And weirdly enough, after tasting glass 1 and then glass number 2, I'm a bit confused on which one is which. That is noise. It's warm. It's gingerbread, it's ginger ale. It's sweeter on the nose than it is on the palate. Although glass 2 is a bit lighter than glass number 1. Glass number 1 is oilier and more mouth coating than glass number 2. It has a better drinking experience than glass number 2. It feels like overall the glass number 1 is a better, more well-rounded and complete whiskey than glass number 2. If I were judging these two rye whiskeys in the Ascots, I would score glass number 1 higher than glass number 2. Because when I'm judging a spirits competition, I'm keeping my bias out of it. But, this is ADHD whiskey. This is not the Ascots. This is me telling you that if you like the same things I like, then you will like this more. Glass number 1, I feel like is superior in a lot of categories, but the flavor profile of glass number 1 is not up my alley and nowhere near up my ass. Glass number 2 falls a little bit short in the mouthfeel department. It's not as oily, it's not as complex, it's not as dark, it's not as mysterious. But what it does better than glass 1 is presents me with a flavor profile that I absolutely adore and love. I'm on glass number 2's hype train. Today, in this bourbon skirmish, glass number 2 takes the win. Glass number 2 is in focus, bringing it back. A Sagamore 10-year rye, the winner tonight. My name is Matt. This is ADHD Whiskey. Like I always say, keep your head in the clouds, but your mind on preparing yourself for 25 straight days of videos. Every single day I'm talking to myself saying, Matt, when December 1st rolls around, it's 25 days straight of videos. And every single day when I tell myself that, I also tell myself to shut the F up, worry about your own shit, and mind your own business. And I'm like, dude, that's no way to talk to yourself. And then it's like, that's right. And I'm sorry. And then I accept my own apology. And then I think more and more about 25 days of videos and how I can potentially screw it up for everybody.